Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiramanachari Yamuna Tiramanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Ballabha Girivaradari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Asatara Satashri Shrimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Dhama Ki Jai Mathura Dhama Ki Jai Navadvip Mayapur Dhama Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Dhama Ki Jai Ganga Maya Jamuna Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Maharani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Gaur Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paska Chadeshatarane. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahita Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Panchakalpachubhyascha Kripasindhavyebuta Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevu Namo Namaha. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. May 17, 2026, in New Goloka, Hillsborough, North Carolina. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 73. We're going to read two verses, verses 32 and 33. So just looking at the Sanskrit, any words here that anybody recognizes before we chant it? There should be a word here that everybody recognizes, one or two. Surido means friends. What does that mean literally? Rid means heart. And su, very dear to the heart. What's the next word right after that? Duridam. So what does du mean? Bad. So ridam, bad heart. They're your enemies. Okay, and any other words that jump out at you from here? Okay, harsha means happiness, yes. What about shankam? What's the shanka? The conch shell. The conch shell. Okay. Gatvate kandava prastam. Shankam da murjitaraya. Harshayantas swasurido. Durvidam chakshukavaha. Please chant. Gatvate kandava prastam. Shankam dad murjitaraya. Harshayanta sasurido. Durvidam chaksukavaha. Katvate kandava prastam. Sankam dadmurjitaraya. Harshayanta swasurido. Durjam chakshuskahavaha. Aprastam. Shankam dadmurjitaraya. Harshanta swasurido. Durvidam chasukavaha. Gatvate kandava prastam. Shankam dadmurjitaraya. Harshayancha sasurido. Duridam chakshukavaha. Gatvate kandava prastam. Shankam dadmurjitaraya. Harshayancha swasurido. Duridam chasukavaha. Gatva, arriving. Te, they. Kandava prastam, at Indraprastham. Well, this is interesting because it was the Kandava forest, and after burning down it became Indraprastha, and here it's still being referred to as, stam means a place. So the Kandava, the place of the Kandava. Shankam, their conch shells. Dadmu, blue. Jita, having defeated. Arayaha, their enemy. Harshayantaha, delighting. Swa, their. Surida, well-wishers. Actually, Surida means a very deep friend. Duridam, to their enemies. cha, and asuka, displeasure, avaha, bringing. BBT translation. When they arrived at Indraprastha, who was arriving? Krishna and Arjuna and Bhima. Right. What did they just finish doing? Killing Jarasandha and installing Sahadev, and releasing the kings and installing Sahadev. So now they're coming back. Remember, this was the Rajasuya, preparation for the Rajasuya? So in preparation for the Rajasuya, the Pandavas went to different parts of the world to get the kings to pay tribute or to fight, and the only one that wouldn't pay tribute was Jarasandha, and then they went to fight with Jarasandha. So now they're coming back, which means just because Bhima went, right, they went in disguise, Bhima, Krishna, Arjuna. Okay. When they arrived at Indraprastha, the victorious heroes, again, those three, Bhima, Arjuna, Krishna, blew their conch shells, bringing joy to their well-wishing friends and sorrow to their enemies. So there's no BBT purport. Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary, they blew their conches situated in their chariots. So in other words, they already had them there, or which appeared just by thinking of them. So Srila Jiva Goswami says either their conch shells were already there in their chariots, or they thought of them and the conch shells just came. Why? They did this to give bliss to their friends like Yudhishthir. Moreover, the sound gave sorrow to enemies like Duryodhana. Srila Sanatana Goswami's commentary, they blew their conches situated in their chariots, or which appeared just by thinking of them. The sound gave sorrow to enemies like Duryodhana. So I'm going to read the next verse, 33, because the two of them really go together. Chakshurtva prita manasa indraprastha nivashinaha menigre magadam shantam. Now that's also quite interesting. Magadam, who's Magadam? Jarasandha. And what's shantam mean? Peace. Well, what do we say when someone dies? Peace be with you, or rest in peace, right? So if you say, oh, what happened to Mr. Smith? You say, well, he's resting in peace. What does that mean? He's dead. So Magadam Shantam means Jarasandha is dead. Literally, it means Jarasandha is peaceful. So the literal meaning is Jarasandha is peaceful, but the idiomatic meaning is Jarasandha is dead. If you say, how's Mr. Smith? I say he's resting in peace. That doesn't mean he's lying on his couch in a relaxed state. Raja Chapta Manorataha. Now, Manorataha is also a very interesting Sanskrit word. What does mana mean? Mind. And Rata is a chariot. Manorataha. Do you all have minds like chariots? Yeah. Our minds are like, let's go here. No, let's go here. Oh, let's go over here. And here the translation of Manorata is desires, where the mind's going. BBT translation, the residents of Indraprastha were very pleased to hear that sound, for they understood that now the king of Magadha had been put to rest. King Yudhishthir felt that his desires were now fulfilled. Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary, hearing the sound of the conchas, all the residents were pleased since they were all his devotees. He was the lord of the area. This excludes the residents of Hastinapur, such as the associates of Duryodhana. Srila Prabhupada translating these two verses in Krishna book. When they reached the precincts of Hastinapur, they blew their respective conch shells, and by hearing the sound vibrations and understanding who was arriving, everyone immediately became cheerful. But the enemies of Krishna, upon hearing the conch shells, were very sorry. The citizens of Indraprastha felt their hearts become joyful simply by hearing the vibration of Krishna's conch shell, because they could understand that Jarasandha had been killed. Now the performance of the Rajasuya sacrifice by King Yudhishthir was almost certain. Gat Fake Kandava Prastam Shankam Dad Mur Chitaraya Harshayanta Swasurido Duridam Chasukavaha Chakshurtva Pritamanasa Indraprastha Nivashina Menire Magadam Shantam Rajam Chapta Manorataha. So Krishna is blowing his conch shell. Krishna and his devotees, Arjuna and Bhima are blowing their conch shells. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, when he says, I am the taste of water, the light and the sun and the moon, he says, I am the sound in ether. And of all the verses in the Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that he's various things in this world, Srila Prabhupada particularly likes to quote that verse that starts with Rasoham Absukantaya, the sound in ether. And Prabhupada, talking about that verse, says that Krishna is all sounds. So right now we can hear what? There's some kind of a motor whirring, right? I'm sure there's birds chirping, but we can't hear them. So we can hear the sounds of people like shuffling. So all those sounds are Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada says in one lecture, if you don't want to chant Hare Krishna, you can meditate on all the sounds in the world as being Krishna. And I really like that meditation because it's kind of intellectually challenging. Like, how do you meditate on the roar of the traffic on the highway and the sound of the concrete being pouring and some baby screaming? And how do you meditate that that's all Krishna? And Prabhupada talks about how all sounds are ultimately spiritual. We know that this world was created by sound. What was that sound? Om. So the sound Om entering into the body of Lord Brahma is explained in the 11th canto through the Mula chakra of Lord Brahma, moving up through his chakras, coming out of his mouth as the sounds of the Vedas, which then manifests all forms. And because of the progression of elements, sound is present in everything. So sound is what manifests space or ether, which then manifests gaseous, the matter in a gaseous form, which then manifests radiant energy, which then manifests matter in a liquid form, which then manifests matter in a solid form. And all matter, even in a solid form, is actually vibrating, even according to modern science. These things may look very solid, but they're 95% space. And we all learned in school how the atoms, the electrons are moving, right? Remember learning that in school? They're moving. And whenever there's movement, there's sound. There's sound. So actually everything is full of sound. Prabhupada in the Rasalila chapter of Krishna book says the whole world is full of Krishna singing. But that's appreciated differently according to one's mentality. And of course we find here also that the sound is appreciated differently according to different mentalities. So although every sound is Krishna, Krishna says, every sound is Krishna, still he has his personal sounds. He has the sound of his voice. Right? Remember when the kings were in ecstasy seeing Krishna, they hadn't yet heard his voice. They were experiencing his beauty, his fragrance, and so forth, but not yet his voice. So there's Krishna's voice. And then Krishna likes to play instruments. Particularly he likes to play, of course, the flute, but he also likes to bugle a buffalo horn, and he also likes to play a conch shell. When I visited Manipur, the devotees there play conch shells as part of the kirtan instruments. So during the kirtan. And of course we do that sometimes, especially like at Rath Yatra. We're going down the street and we're blowing conch shells as musical instruments. So all of these sounds, we're talking about Krishna's flute, Krishna's buffalo horn, Krishna's conch shell, and even the sounds of the world, which are manifestations of the Lord. They give joy to those who are swa-surid. Swa means your own. Surid, those who are your own very dear ones. We talk, materially we say that, your loved ones, right? Are you going to go see your loved ones? That would be, in Sanskrit, that would be swa-surit. Those who are very dear to you, and then you have the durid, those who'd like to tear your heart to pieces, and those who hate your heart. So those personalities, they don't like the sounds of Krishna's conch shell, Krishna's buffalo horn, Krishna's flute, Krishna's voice. They don't even like the sounds of the world. I really like how in Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis says that heaven is full of either silence or music, but hell is just full of noise. And one time when I was at the Woodstock Festival, we were taking a Rath Yatra cart around, and as we went around, there were these young people dressed all in black and with kind of fierce makeup and stuff, and they were playing something which I assumed they would call music, but it sounded like the rurus of hell growling. It was like, whoa. So those who hate the Lord, they don't even like the sounds of this world. They're not interested in the sounds of the water and the sounds of the birds. You know, they just want to create dissonance. So I wanted to look at here specifically with Krishna's conch shell. What is the nature of Krishna's conch shell? And then what is the effect of Krishna's conch shell? And then a little bit about how we use conch shells. So what's the nature of Krishna's conch shell? The most interesting verse is in the 12th canto in chapter 11, text 14 to 15, where the BBT translation is, the club the Lord carries is the chief element, prana, incorporating the potencies of sensory, mental, and physical strength. His excellent conch shell is the element water, his Sudarshana disc the element fire, and his sword, pure as the sky, the element ether. So I thought that quite interesting. I'm sure we could have a week or two going into this one verse, how the different elements manifest in their original spiritual form as the weapons of the Lord. Now, these weapons of the Lord, they're all personalities. It's nicely explained in Canto 8, Chapter 20, Text 31. The Lord's conch shell named Panchajanya, which made sounds like that of a cloud. So the rumbling. Actually, Krishna's voice is also compared to the rumbling of a cloud. The very forceful club named Komodaki, the sword named Vidyadhara, with a shield decorated with hundreds of moon-like spots, and also Akshayaka, the best of quivers. All of these appear together to offer prayers to the Lord. So all of these accoutrements of the Lord, they all have names. Right? Sometimes people name their stuff. People, usually they name their boats for sure. They definitely name their boats. Sometimes people name their cars. Perhaps some of you have names for your computers or your phones or something like that. So all these are actually personalities. Even if you name your boat, I'm sorry to say it doesn't actually have a personality. But all of Krishna's paraphernalia all has personalities, it all has names, and they all can come in a form to offer prayers to the Lord. So this conch shell of the Lord is his eternal associate, but it also in Krishna's pastimes gets given to him. And that's true for all of Krishna's paraphernalia. Like Krishna doesn't start playing his flute until he's old enough to take out the calves. You know, sometimes we see paintings of little baby Krishna with a flute, but actually he gets his flute when he's about 4 years old. And he's also given a buffalo horn. And of course, even his consorts, even there's a, first meeting of Radha and Krishna. There's a first meeting of Lakshmi and Narayan. There's a first meeting of Ram and Sita. So this is that enjoyment of meeting for the first time, before which there's, of course, this feeling in separation before having met. So the Lord also gets in touch with his conch shell, and this is when, does anyone remember when the Lord gets his conch shell? Yes. What's Krishna in the water to do? What's he doing there? That's a different Leela. Teacher. Yes, so when Krishna went, when Sandipani Muni, he finished educating Balaram and Krishna, so Balaram and Krishna said, what would you like as dakshin? You're not supposed to just take something without giving something in return. You take knowledge from somebody, you're supposed to give them something. So what can we give you as dakshin? And Sandipani Muni's wife actually suggested, why don't you have the Lord's return our dead son? So this son was captured by this demon who had a conch shape, and when Krishna and Balaram went there, of course the son was not there, but anyway, they defeated the demon and they took this conch, which is explained in Bhagavatam 10:45, 42 to 44. Lord Janardana took the conch shell that had grown around the demon's body and went back to the chariot. Then he proceeded to the abode of Yamaraj, because the son was not there with the demon, he was in Yamaraj abode. And Prabhupada also mentions that in chapter 45 in Krishna book. By killing the demon named Panchajanya, he received a conch shell named Panchajanya. So this was his like booty from the battle, right? This conch shell. So what's the effect of Krishna's conch shell, which is what we're seeing? And this, of course, Arjuna and Bhima are also blowing their conch shells. So it gives joy to the friends, and it gives unhappiness to the enemies. And of course, I'm sure we all think immediately of what? Krishna and the Pandavas blowing conch shells. We think immediately of Bhagavad Gita, right? Chapter 1, text 15. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his. Anyone know the name of Arjuna's conch shell? Devadatta. And Bhima, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his conch shell. Anyone know that name? Paundra. Now, in the previous purport, text 14, Prabhupada wrote, in contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The soundings, they're not just like some shell from the beach. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicates that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. So it was an announcing of victory. And then in text 19 of chapter 1, the blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious, vibrating both in the sky and on the earth. It shattered the hearts of which enemies? The sons of Dhritarashtra. Yes. And Prabhupada in his purport shattered the hearts. Does that sound like Durid? Right? Enemy of the heart. Enemy of your heart. We're thinking of Nrsingadev pulling out. Wasn't that cool in the drama? When Nrsingadev, he not only took out his intestines, you see, he also pulled out Hiranyakashipu's heart. Did all you pick that up? So Prabhupada in the purport to text 19, first chapter, when Bhishma and others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned. But in this particular verse, it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' army. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear even in the midst of the greatest calamity. And there's a number of places in the Bhagavatam and Canto 1, Chapter 11, Text 1. Upon reaching the border of his most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of the Anarthas, Dwarka, the Lord sounded his auspicious conch shell, heralding his arrival and apparently pacifying the dejection of the inhabitants. Oh, Krishna's back here in Dwarka. And the same chapter, next text, this is, I really always liked this verse, and there's a nice BBT painting of this verse, old painting. The white and fat bold conch shell being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. Isn't that nice? Isn't that nice? I mean, we often have the meditations of the flute, Krishna's various flute, and how the gopis are jealous of the flute, that why is Krishna kissing the flute, and the sound from the flute. But here we have a similar description. Should I read that again? Wasn't it nice? I think I'll read that again. The white and fat bold conch shell being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna and sounded by him appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. So, I hope some of you remember there's that picture of Krishna blowing his conch as he's entering Dwarka. In the 6th canto, chapter 8, text 28, O best of conch shells, O Panchajanya in the hands of the Lord, you are always filled with the breath of Lord Krishna. Therefore, you create a fearful sound vibration that causes trembling in the hearts of enemies, like the Rakshasas, Pramata ghosts, Pretas, Matas, Pisachas, and Brahmana ghosts with fearful eyes. What a wonderful service. Someone said to me the other day, why would anyone want to be in Shantaras? But there's this wonderful service, the flute, the conch shell, they're held by the Lord, they're touching the Lord's lips. Adaram Madhuram, Krishna's lips are so sweet. They're being filled with his breath. Of course, we're also filled with the Lord's breath. The air is the prana of the Lord. Air is not just an inert element. It's actually the Lord's breathing. And Krishna says in the Gita that he joins with our prana, all the 8 kinds of air, to move and digest our foodstuff. So actually, we're always filled with Krishna's prana. It's a question of our awareness. In Canto 8, Chapter 4, Text 26, after giving this instruction, the Lord, who is known as Rishikesh, bugled with his Panchajanya conch shell, in this way pleasing the demigods headed by Lord Brahma. Then he mounted the back of his carrier Garuda. In 8:20:31, the Lord's conch shell named Panchajanya, which made sounds like that of a cloud, the very forceful club. Oh, I had already read that, sorry. And 10th Canto, Chapter 45, Text 42-44, Lord Janardana took the conch shell that had grown around the demon's body and went back to the chariot. Then he proceeded to Samyamani, the beloved capital of Yamaraj. Upon arriving there, he loudly blew his conch shell, and Yamaraj, who keeps the conditioned souls in check, came as soon as he heard the resounding vibration. I've come to talk to my servant. In 10:50:16, as Lord Krishna came out of the city with Daruka at the reins of his chariot, he blew his conch shell, and the enemy soldiers' hearts began to tremble with fear. Again, we have this rid, difficulty for their hearts. In 10:59:5, with the sound of his conch shell, Lord Gadadhar, which is interesting, Gadadhar means the holder of the club. So the holder of the club is blowing his conch shell, then shattered the magic seals of the fortress. This is with Bhaumasura, along with the hearts of its brave defenders. So again, we have this messing up their hearts, shattering their hearts. And with his heavy club, he demolished the surrounding earthen rampart. So not only did he shatter their hearts, but he also he shattered the magic seals that had been put on just with the sound. And going on there with 10:59:6, the 5-headed demon Mura, who slept at the bottom of the city's moat, this is also with Bhaumasura, awoke and rose up out of the water when he heard the vibration of Krishna's Panchajanya conch shell, a sound as terrifying as the thunder at the end of the cosmic age. So it doesn't just have a sound like ordinary thunder, but thunder of mass devastation. So Srila Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu talks about the components of rasa, the components of relationship. And the first one is that which stimulates our relationship. And in that category is Krishna himself, the object of our relationship, ourselves and similar-minded devotees who have that relationship with Krishna, and then general things that stimulate our relationship with Krishna. Now, ultimately, everything should stimulate our relationship with Krishna. As we were saying, Krishna is all sounds in ether, so every sound should stimulate our relationship with Krishna. But especially Krishna's personal sounds act as this udipana, and one of them that Srila Rupa Goswami mentions is the sound of Krishna's conch shell. And he gives 3 examples. This is from Nectar Devotion, chapter 21. Krishna's conch shell is known as Panchajanya. The Panchajanya conch is also mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna sounded it before the battle of Kurukshetra. It is said that when Krishna blows on his transcendental conch shell, the wives of the demons become subjects to abortions, that means miscarriages, and the wives of the demigods become blessed with all auspiciousness. So the conch shell even shatters the unborn babies in the demons' wives' womb, not just their hearts, and it blesses his devotees. In this way, the sound of Krishna's conch shell used to vibrate and circulate all over the world. Another example, when the princes of the Yadu dynasty heard the vibration of Krishna's Panchajanya conch shell, the hairs on their bodies immediately stood up in ecstatic jubilation. Again, it's acting as this udipana, this stimulus for love. They have this sattvika bhav of horripilation. Another example, when a great mystic was once awakened from his meditative trance by hearing the vibration of Krishna's Panchajanya conch shell, the mystic became overpowered, so much so, in fact, that he began to bash his head on the ground, and with eyes full of tears of ecstatic love, he violated all the rules and regulations of his yoga performance. So he went from meditation on the Brahman to ecstatic joy by hearing Krishna's conch shell. In chapter 45 of Krishna book, Prabhupada writes, accompanied by his elder brother Balaram, who is also known as Halayuddha, which means one who fights with a club, Krishna arrived there and blew on his conch shell. The vibration of Lord Krishna's conch shell sounded like a thunderbolt at the time of the dissolution of the whole cosmic manifestation. So, of course, we also blow conch shells. Yes. And we're probably going to blow one pretty quickly here, very soon, a few minutes, 7, 8 minutes. So there's blowing of some kind of instrument is done in other religions too, like I was brought up in Judaism, and there they blow a horn. They blow a ram's horn called the shofar, and the priests in the different ceremonies learn how to blow this, and it's blown before worship, and it's blown at certain holidays and things of this nature. And we also have the Varaha Purana says that the reason we blow the conch shell is to announce oneself to the Lord. Just like the Lord is announcing oneself. And the Brihad Naradiya Purana says that anyone who blows the conch shell in the temple becomes free from all sins. And as I said, in Manipur, the Gaudiya Vaishnavas there, they actually blow the conch shell as part of their kirtans. They usually have one man who has 2 conch shells. He's holding 2 at a time. And I don't know how he does this, because all of us who've blown conch shells, it's a little difficult. You can't just like go, you know. And you have to kind of learn the technique. So how is he moving? I don't know how he does it. So he's got 2 conch shells, and they're different sizes. And so they're making somewhat different sounds, and he's going back and forth and blowing them in the kirtan. So we also blow conch shells to create auspiciousness, and like all of the paraphernalia that we use in worshiping the Lord, it's directly spiritual. So we see that Krishna's the same activity. He's entering with his devotees, blowing conch shells. His swasurid, they have sukha. And the durid, they have asukha. Same thing. Krishna's doing the same thing. And those who love him, his loved ones, they're filled with happiness. Those who hate him, their hearts get shattered. They feel like this is the sound that everything's ending. The universe is ending. Everything's terrible. So it's not just what Krishna does, it's our relationship with him, how we respond to things. Krishna acts in our life in so many ways, but how we respond to that depends on whether we're his surid or durid. Do we feel happy, or are our hearts shattered? So one very nice example of this, thinking about Krishna as all sounds, is when Duryodhana used his voice to insult and threaten Vidura. And Krishna explains in the 11th canto that even a sadhu has difficulty resettling his mind after hearing harsh words from uncivilized men. And it's explained that Vidura, the Bhagavatam verses, it says that Vidura's heart was affected more than if he had been pierced with arrows on hearing Duryodhana's words. Now, if Krishna is all sounds, then he's also the sounds coming out of everybody's mouth. So Vidura's heart was affected because he was being threatened and insulted by an enemy, but someone who he had tried to help. Vidura tried to help Duryodhana for so many years. And it says Vidura saw 2 things. He could understand Duryodhana is acting under the control of Mahamaya, the external energy. He's being bewildered by selfishness and false ego and envy. But also acting here is Yogamaya. He saw both. He saw Duryodhana is acting under Mahamaya, but this is also Yogamaya. This is also Krishna acting through Duryodhana for my benefit. And even though hearing something from an enemy did affect his heart, he was able to stabilize his mind. What does Krishna want? What is this sound doing for me? What does Krishna want? And he decided at that point basically to become a Vanaprastha. He went on pilgrimage to all the holy places, which is why we have a huge portion of the Bhagavatam, by the way, with Vidura speaking to Maitreya. So although it appeared inauspicious, actually it was auspicious. So how we perceive, because everything is full of sound, how we perceive the sounds of Krishna in our life, it depends on us. Do I perceive them as auspicious? Do I perceive them as inauspicious? I'm sure there were persons that when Jarasandha was put to rest, Magada Shantam, that they perceived this as inauspicious. Oh, no, our friend Jarasandha has been killed. But those who are dear to the Lord perceived us as auspicious. So we should try to listen to Krishna's sounds. Sometimes people ask me, how do I know what Krishna wants me to do? And I say, well, you know, when Krishna wants to move his cows from one place to another, first he calls them by name. He has a japa beads made of jewels on which he counts his cows and he calls them by names. Right? Hamsi, okay, time to come home. And then if they still won't come when he calls their names, how does he call them? With his flute. If that doesn't work, he gets out his buffalo horn. I don't think he brings his conch shell to the... He didn't get that till he goes with Sandipani Muni. He doesn't have that in Vrindavan. Then he plays his buffalo horn. If they still don't come, there's something he carries in his waist all the time. What is it, eh? Stick. Has a stick. He goes behind the cows. Come on, hurry up. Go back to Vraja. So Krishna's also, right? First he's saying, hey, Urmila, you need to get this together. You need to do this. Come on, Urmila, right? And then if I don't listen, then he's like, woo, come on. If I still don't listen, it's like, woo, come on. And if I still don't listen, then he gets the stick. So we should try to be attentive and understand that everything that's happening with us in this world is actually Krishna relating with us in love. Because although others may see Krishna as their enemy, Krishna never sees anyone as his enemy. To Krishna, he doesn't have dear and enemy. Krishna Suridam Sarvabhutanam. He is the Surid of everyone. He doesn't want to shatter and destroy anyone's hearts. He wants to have everyone's heart melting in ecstatic love. Their hearts are shattering because instead of being liquid nectar, they're hard like Hiranyakashipu's stone chest. And therefore Krishna has to act as a chisel to break it. So that's our choice. How do I respond to Krishna? Am I aware of him? And what is my response? So thank you very much. Anything good in this class is by the grace of Prabhupada. Anything bad is my fault. Yes, Rudrani. A great deal of... Yes, Rudrani was saying, we have to be introspective. Yes. What does it say in the Bhagavatam? The introspective sage. You're not willing to be introspective, bhakti is going to be a little difficult. Because Krishna's always going to be going after you with a stick. And even then, you're often not going to think it's Krishna. You're going to think it's, this, you're going to blame the external things. So, yeah, without some introspection, bhakti's going to be long and hard, difficult process. You're going to get bruised, yeah. You get bruised, it's going to be a long, hard process, and you may blame everybody else and become bitter. spiritual intelligence, Rudrani is saying. Right, as Rudrani is saying this, described in Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, right? Buddhi yoga, having the yoga of intelligence. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Panchajanya ki jai.
Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Yasomati Nandana Brajabara Nagara Gokula Ranjana Kana Gopi Purana Dana Madana Manohara 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 Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damadana Kaliya Damana Vidana Kaliya Damana Vidana Amara Harinam Amiya Vilasam Harinam Amiya Vilasam Amara Harinam Amiya Vilasam Harinam Amiya Vilasam Vipinan Purandaran Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Suvasa Vipinan Purandaran Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Suvasa Vipinan Purandaran Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Suvasa Vipinam Purandar Navina Nagara Bara Vamsivadana Suvasa Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Rajavan Palana Surakula Nashana Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Brajajana Palana Surakula Nashana Nanda Godano Rako Wahala Nanda Godana Rako Wahala Nanda Godana Rako Wahala Nanda Godana Rakova Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Govinda Madhava Navanita Taskara Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Sundarananda Gopala Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Yanuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Yamuna Tatachara Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Yamuna Gopi Vasanahara Rasarasika Kripa Moya Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Natapara, 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 Bhakati Vinodashraya, Bhakati Vinodashraya, Bhakati Vinodashraya, Bhakati Vinodashraya, Yasomati Nandana Brajapara Nagara, Gokula Ranjana Kana, Yasomati Nandana Brajapara Nagara, Gokula Ranjana Kana, Amala Harina Mami Avilasa, Amala Harina Mami Avilasa, Amala Harina Mami Avilasa, Amala Harina Mami Avilasa, Govinda Madhava Navanira Taskara, Govinda Madhava Navanira Taskara, Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Nattabara, Sri Radha Vallabha Vrindavana Nattabara, Bhakati Vinodashraya, Bhakati Vinodashraya, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda Radhe, Jaya Radha Golokananda, Golokananda Radhe, Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda Radhe, Jaya Radha Golokananda, Radha Golokananda Radhe, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya Giri, Jaya Giri Govardhan, Jaya, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai. Lord Krishna is beloved son of Yashoda, transcendental lover in the land of Braj, the delight of Gokula, known by the nickname Kana, the wealth of the lives of the gopis, the attractor of Cupid, and punisher of the serpent Kaliya. These pure holy names of Lord Hari, nectarian pastimes, Lord of the 12 forests of Braj, ever youthful, the best of lovers, player of the flute, an excellent dresser, protector of the inhabitants of Brudge, destroyer of the demoniac dynasties, keeper and tender of Nundas cows, giver of pleasure to cows, land, and spiritual senses, husband of the goddess of fortune, and beautiful little cowherd boy of Nanda Maharaj, wanderer of the river banks, thief of the garments of the gopis, enjoyer of the mellows of the rasa dance, very merciful, lover and beloved of Sri Radha, the great dancer of Vrindavan, and the only shelter of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtan today at Weaver Street Market beginning at 11:30. Please come. It's going to be a nice sunny day. Lots of people will be out having fun, and we'll give them a chance to hear the holy names. Chaitodarpanam Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapita Nihamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinada Pi Sunichena Tarora Pi Suhishuna Amani Namana Dana Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Ahoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Gavashu Daraya Varanam Gad Garudaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanamagrahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Bravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishava Padamritamanastumam Adarshanam Marmahatakarotuva Yatatava Didava Tuampato Mat Prana